You just saw those pictures from Beijing. Xi Jinping held delegation-level talks with the Solomon Islands. Big, long tables on both sides. Also lots of diplomats and bureaucrats in attendance. But one big name was missing. China's foreign minister, Qin Gang. He should have been part of the Chinese team on Monday, but he was not there. In fact, he's been missing for 2 weeks. His last public appearance was on the 25th of June. He met with officials from Sri Lanka, Russia and Vietnam. Last week, Qin Gang was supposed to host Joseph Borrell. He is the European Union's top diplomat, but the meeting never happened. China postponed it, saying the dates were no longer available. Fishy, right? Well, people started noticing it. Multiple reports emerged questioning Qin Gang's absence. Was he sick? Was he missing? Or was he sidelined? At first, China did not say anything. The foreign ministry claimed it wasn't even aware of such reports. But earlier today, they made a U-turn. Beijing said Qin Gang would not attend the upcoming ASEAN-China meeting. Why? Because of health reasons, they say.
State Councillor and Foreign Minister Qin Gang cannot attend this ASEAN ministerial meeting.
So no Qin Gang. Instead, Wang Yi will represent China. You may remember him, the previous foreign minister, still very powerful in China. He heads the Communist Party's foreign policy wing, which actually makes it a strange equation. When leaders visit Beijing, they meet Qin Gang and Wang Yi. Antony Blinken did this last month. So did Russia's Sergei Lavrov in February. And there's a lot of overlap between these two men. Qin Gang is the government's foreign policy chief, the foreign minister of China. Wang Yi is the Communist Party's foreign policy chief. But in protocol, Wang Yi ranks higher. Why is that? I guess it's party over country in China. Either way, the foreign minister is still on leave. The ASEAN meetings are on Friday, so his absence will last at least 3 weeks. In many ways, this whole incident sums up China and how they operate. You cancel a foreign visit without saying why. You dismiss reports about your top diplomat's health. Then hours later, you confirm all of that with one sentence. Most countries would have just released a statement, perhaps avoided all the speculation, but not China. Their first instinct is to hide and dismiss. And this practice goes right up the command chain. Let's rewind to the Wuhan virus pandemic. By 2021, most world leaders had been vaccinated. In fact, they got their shots on live TV. Guess who did not? Xi Jinping of China. Beijing would not even say if their president was vaccinated or not. It was only in July 2022 that they confirmed it. The obvious question again is why? Why does China keep hiding the health of its leaders? Some experts blame insecurity. Remember, these are unelected presidents and ministers. If they're seen as weak and unhealthy, their position can be challenged. Another reason could be instinct. We've seen it over the years. China's government first hides, then it blames others. We saw it with the pandemic. We also saw it during the recent spy balloon saga. So nothing to be surprised here, but it will be interesting to see when Qin Gang returns. He took over as a foreign minister last year. Before that, he was China's ambassador to the US. Rumor is he's a fierce wolf warrior. So aggression and insults come naturally to him. If only transparency came just as easily, we could have avoided this mess. Either way, we'll be looking out for his next appearance. The NATO summit is underway in Lithuania. Yesterday, we told you Sweden and Ukraine would dominate affairs. Now you can strike off Sweden, because Turkish President Erdogan has relented. He's agreed to support Sweden's membership. Why? Well, only he can answer that question. The decision was announced late on Monday. The NATO chief held talks with Erdogan and the Swedish Prime Minister. This was a last-ditch effort, and it worked. You see, Turkey had been stalling Sweden's entry since last year. The reasons were mostly political. Sweden is home to a lot of Kurdish migrants. Erdogan calls them terrorists, and his demand was quite simple. Extradite the Kurds and we'll clear the membership. That's what he wanted. Did Sweden agree? Well, they did amend their constitution, but most of the extraditions were struck down by their courts. So that demand was not fulfilled to send the Kurds back to Turkey. Then yesterday, Erdogan came up with another demand. We will agree only if the European Union gives Turkey membership. So he wanted Turkey to be an EU member. Again, no luck. It did not happen. The EU said those are two separate issues, which makes you wonder, why did Erdogan agree after all? Well, he could be getting some F-16 jets. These are American jets. Their sale was blocked in 2019 because Turkey bought Russian missiles. But today, the White House cleared it.
It's in the interest of NATO that Turkey get that capability. He has placed no caveats or conditions on that in his public and private comments over the past few months, and he intends to move forward with that transfer in consultation with Congress.
So basically, Erdogan asked for the stars, but he settled for a light bulb. You could say it's a downgrade, but without this brinkmanship, even the F-16 jets were unlikely. Either way, Sweden is a non-issue now. It will become the 32nd member of NATO. But no such luck for Ukraine. NATO is divided on Ukraine's membership. President Zelensky wants to become a de facto member. The NATO chief wants a clear and positive message. And the US is talking about some vague pathway to membership. Listen to this.
When we applied for membership of NATO, we spoke frankly. De facto, Ukraine is already in the alliance. Our weapons are the weapons of the alliance. Our values are what the alliance believes in.
On the membership issue, I also expect that allies will send a clear and positive message on the path forward towards membership for Ukraine.
That the question is not Ukraine and NATO now here at Vilnius. The question is, what's the pathway towards Ukraine's future membership?
For Ukraine, it's all about time. There is no point in saying that Kiev can join 10 years later, or in giving them a checklist that could take 15 years to fulfill. Zelensky wants to join now. Unfortunately, his chances are not good. The US says it's premature for Ukraine to join. Germany says a country at war cannot join. And Hungary says, be rational, don't invite Ukraine. So where does that leave Kiev? In a bit of a limbo. Barring a major surprise, they're not getting a green light in Vilnius. It's politics, so we can't rule it out completely. But logic says no membership for Ukraine. It seems Zelensky has also realized this. Take a look at his statement. This is what he said. It's unprecedented and absurd when time frame is not set either for the invitation or for Ukraine's membership. It seems there is no readiness to invite Ukraine to NATO or to make it a member of the alliance. So what can Zelensky realistically hope for? Words and weapons. Chances are NATO leaders will wax eloquent about shared values and democracy, the usual stuff. They're also expected to announce weapons packages. Germany is preparing a package worth $700 million. It includes ammunition, armored vehicles, and tanks. The US has announced an $800 million package. This one includes the controversial cluster bombs. And France is giving long-range missiles. It's the first time Paris is sending such weapons.
Considering the situation and the counteroffensive led by Ukraine, I decided to increase the deliveries of weapons and equipment and to provide a long-range missile capacity to Ukrainians.
So the message from Vilnius is quite clear. We'll give you moral support. We'll also give you weapons. But we won't give you NATO membership. Unless Biden makes a U-turn like Erdogan, this is where things stand. This whole war was about joining NATO. Ukraine said it wanted to join. Russia said we won't let you join. It's been 500 days and counting since the disagreement triggered this war. Zelensky may say Ukraine is defending human values, but values don't win wars. You see, military operations are not just about the battlefield. They're also about political objectives. Putin's political objective was to turn Ukraine away from NATO. He failed spectacularly. Zelensky's political objective was to join NATO. He too is on the brink of failure, which makes you wonder, who is winning this war? The ones dying on the battlefield or the ones bankrolling the fight? Now let's talk about beauty pageants. Have you ever watched one? Did you find it fun, sexist, or outdated? Well, whatever your answer is, you don't need to love beauty pageants to have heard of Miss Universe. It's not only a big one, but it also makes the boldest claim, the boldest of all beauty contests. It wants to single out one person who will represent an idealized vision of womanhood. And this story is about that last word, womanhood. Because in a first, a transgender woman has won the title of Miss Netherlands. And with this, she's qualified for the Miss Universe contest. Is this a welcome change? Our next story explores.
This is Ricky Cole, a 22-year-old Dutch woman who's won the title of Miss Netherlands. And in doing so, she has made history because she is a transgender woman. and the first to ever win this pageant contest, meaning the first winner to wear this tiara without being a naturally born female. So, as expected, this year's title invited mixed reactions. There was a wave of harsh criticism. Many called the pageant anti-feminist for letting a trans woman compete with naturally born women. Some demanded segregation, saying trans people should participate in trans beauty pageants. Others simply used barf emojis or one-word adjectives like gross to describe how they felt. Overall, the very criteria of choosing contestants came into question, saying that the lines have become blurry. But then there were others who hailed the inclusivity of this pageant. For them, Kole's win is a landmark moment for trans rights. They say it increased visibility of trans people and champions their success. But does giving a trans woman this award say much for equality? Not really. It doesn't balance anything out, especially as hate crimes targeting transgender people are increasing. They rocketed by 56% last year compared to 2021. So a fleeting victory in a beauty pageant doesn't do much to change this number. But for advocates of queer rights, Kole's win is a step forward and part of the bigger picture of change. Miss Netherlands is part of the Miss Universe contest. Because Kole has won Miss Netherlands, she will now go on to represent her country in Miss Universe later this year. But she won't be the first trans woman to do so. In 2018, Angela Pons from Spain became the pageant's first trans contestant, and she won Miss Spain. This was 6 years after the pageant allowed trans contestants, a move that was finalized after a queer advocacy NGO began talks with Miss Universe pageant.
A lot more than a beauty competition for the transgender community. It's a community that does not face equal opportunities when it comes to housing, medical care, or even safety.
This move changed the landscape of beauty pageants, and the biggest push came last year when a Thai transgender business mogul bought Miss Universe organization, becoming the first woman to own the pageant.
For Miss Universe, that is the global platform. I would rather say it's the universe platform actually. Much bigger than Thailand, that I can have my own voice, my statement, my opinion, the perspective, and the courage to talk to everyone. The inspiration, and I can become the aspiration for so many people, particularly women, LGBTQ, that they can transform.
The times seem to be changing, but the debate remains the same. Should trans women be allowed to compete with naturally born women, be it beauty pageants or sports? Some say trans women get unfair advantage, that they steal the victory from non-trans competitors. But others disagree. They say trans women are also women. So while Miss Netherlands crowned a trans woman, it doesn't conclude the debate. What do you think about it?
And now let's move from foreign lands to the deep blue sea. A new calamity is gearing up to affect our oceans. We're talking about deep sea mining. There's an urgent meeting taking place in the Caribbean island nation of Jamaica. It's to decide the fate of mining on our ocean floors. The clock is ticking. Countries want to start scouring the ocean floor for rare metals. But they need permission, a set of rules and regulations. You see, no nation controls the oceans. So its regulation is up to the UN. But as the UN scrambles to figure out what to do, more and more countries are insisting on a moratorium on deep-sea mining. Our next report tells you why.
The world is over 70% ocean. You learn about this at a young age. But how much do we really know about our oceans? We know a bit about the ocean surface, but we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to the ocean floor. There are a few things we know for sure, though. One is that the deep sea is a fragile ecosystem, and two, it is full of minerals. We'll talk about the minerals and their potential in a bit. Before that, we would like to ask, would you disturb a fragile ecosystem, one you barely know anything about, for economic benefits? You don't know what will happen if the ecosystem gets damaged. You don't know how to fix anything that goes wrong. So, would you still go ahead with disturbing things in such a delicate situation? It seems so, because that's what some countries and companies want to do with the deep sea mining. As we said, the ocean floor is known to have minerals, metals like cobalt, nickel, and manganese. These are metals that go into making electric vehicle batteries and other green technologies. And they're reportedly just lying about the seafloor, in the form of potato-shaped rocks apparently. Sounds like an easy solution to all our green energy problems, doesn't it? That's what the advocates of deep ocean mining are saying. They want permission to start picking up these rocks. And they're pitching this as a solution for climate change. Yes, we aren't making this up. Those wanting to mine the deep sea say it's less harmful than mining on land. There's no proof of this, of course, because, like we mentioned, we don't know much about the deep sea. And, very conveniently, no one has made any promises to stop mining on land. It basically sounds like people trying to exploit yet another area of our planet. The consequences be damned. But despite the obvious risks, we're approaching a pivotal moment. The next few days could determine the future of deep sea mining. It's because of a chain of events set off by a mining company and a Pacific island. The Canadian conglomerate, the Metals Company, and the tiny island nation of Nauru. It's an island nation with no capital city, one major road, and about 12,000 people. In 2021, Nauru put in a request to mine the deep sea in partnership with the Metals Company. It filed the request with the International Seabed Authority, which has authority in these matters. It's a UN body based out of Jamaica. Now, since this was the first time a country actively wanted to mine the ocean floor, the ISA didn't have a plan. But it was on a timer to come up with new regulations, a 2-year timer that expired on Sunday. But the ISA still doesn't know what to do. Over the last few days and months, more and more countries and companies have come out against the proposal.
I want to be very clear here. France will honor its commitments and remain true to what I have already said, which is why France supports a ban on all deep-sea mining. I take this position and I will bring it to the international fora.
France, Germany, Costa Rica, and a host of others are against deep-sea mining, as are businesses including BMW, Google, and Samsung. They want the ISA to impose a moratorium or ban on mining, at least for a few years while we wait for more scientific research. Meanwhile, there are countries like the UK, China, Russia, and India that have been exploring the seas, checking to see if it makes sense to begin deep-sea mining. Now, all eyes are on the International Seabed Authority. In the next few weeks, we'll know whether a new gold rush is on the cards, and if our oceans, like our land, will be at the mercy of human greed.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. We're starting with Israel. The country's parliament has given its initial nod to Prime Minister Netanyahu's judicial overhaul plan, and this has triggered protests in several parts of the country. Meanwhile, a volcano has erupted in southwest Iceland. This happened after an intense earthquake activity in the area, and heavy rain has caused floods in the US state of Vermont. Finally, taking you back in history, on this day in the year 2006, a string of powerful explosions happened in India's financial capital, Mumbai. The blasts took place in local trains during evening rush hour. Nearly 200 people were killed and about 900 were injured. 9 years later, 5 convicts were given the death sentence. We're leaving you with that. Thanks for watching.